Uhuru Sasa, which means freedom now. And we just heard from our brother Roy Ayers out of Los Angeles, California. And joining us on the line from Los Angeles, California is Harold Wilton, a filmmaker, a former member of the SNCC, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, and also the Black Panther Party. And first of all, let me ask you two questions. First of all, how are you doing? And secondly, could you just name the film that you did about Fremont so people know about it?
Okay, I'm doing great. I hope everyone is doing great. I did a film called The Liberation of Fremont High School, which is about a black student union, high school black student union that organized for 2 years. They went on strike twice, and it was it's a little known story now, but it was a large, great event during that time. My brother and others were involved in that struggle.
Okay, now we're going to be talking about our brother Roy Ayers. Now, Roy Ayers, he went to Jefferson High School in Los Angeles. I guess in the early period of our history in the 40s and 50s, there were basically only two schools really that African people went to. That was Jefferson High School and Jordan High School. And Jefferson High School, you had people like, I guess Ralph Bunch went there, Dorothy Dandridge, Alvin Ailey, the dance guy. We can talk about who else went there. Then in Jordan, we had Jordan Flojo went there, and the great track star Flojo and Charles Mingus, and the Whispers. Let us talk about, and then what I want to say, Fremont, where you and I went to, and both of us had some difficulties there. I guess we were kind of the upper lower class Negroes, remember, because of the Jordan and Jefferson. That's where the first set of African people. That was the real. They were among the most downtrodden people who went to those schools. Or am I correct in saying that?
Yeah, most of our parents were part of the great migration from the South to California, Arizona, and you're correct in saying that. Roy Ayers was from a part of Los Angeles called the South Park area, which is a part of so-called South Central Los Angeles. So you're very correct in saying that. Roy Ayers, as you said, went to Jefferson High, and he studied music, jazz. I hate to say the word jazz, but anyway, jazz. He studied under the great Sam Brown, who was a teacher, music teacher at Jefferson High during the 1930s all the way up until the early 1960s. Give you a backstory on Jefferson High in terms of music. Dexter Gordon went there, Etta James, Ernie Andrews, O.C. Smith, Art Farmer, Ernie Royal, Carl Burnett, the drummer, Chico Hamilton, the great Chico Hamilton, drummer, and then Don Cherry, trumpet player. He started at Fremont High School, and like us, he was asked to leave, and he went to Jefferson, and just about everybody that came out of Jefferson High under Sam Brown, went into the music known as jazz.
Mm-hmm. Now, Roy Ayers, did I cut you off? I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. Go ahead.
No, I was getting ready to say, well, Roy Ayers had a relationship with Fela Kuti, but we'll talk about that later. Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
We want to talk about his jazz, his bebop roots, I guess, right?
Yeah. He came out of the bebop era. Quick note on bebop. Bebop was a double time count in the music they call jazz. Make it simple. Instead of 1, 2, 3, 4. Charlie Parker, people like Charlie Parker say 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. So that's bop. And then post bop was like more gospel like, soulful like, if you will, but it was still straight ahead, right? It was still straight ahead. You had people like Art Blakey, Wayne Shorter, Herbie Hancock, Jackie McLean, Lee Morgan, Charlie Mingus. They were part of what it's called the post bop era, but I love it all. And so Roy Ayers, he had those roots from that era, and great writer, composer, great straight ahead vibraphone musician. Roy Ayers, I would say around 1962, 1963, he started emerging as a hard bop musician. One of his first albums he did was West Coast Vibes. And again, that was the hard bop, post bop era. John Coltrane was a part of that, well, an innovator of that era too. Again, Jackie McLean, they were part of that. Jackie Mack, alto saxophone player. He was a great musician as well. Many musicians came out of Detroit, New York, Chicago, jazz musicians. But the unknown story is L.A. produced a lot. L.A., Los Angeles produced a lot of straight ahead jazz artists. You want me to continue on?
Oh yeah, you talk about Los Angeles. We had remember there was a sister, Vi Red was part of that situation as well. I don't know if Vi Red and Melba Lipton was from Los Angeles, but she went to Belmont High School, which was
right.
That's before my time, but yeah, you can continue on because we had sisters, we had brothers and sisters from Los Angeles that were on a high level with jazz, right?
Yeah, Vi Red, alto saxophone player, great musician, and Roy Ayers in the early '60s. Roy Ayers, I don't want to say big break, but he got a chance to play in the Herbie Mann band. Herbie Mann is a flautist. Is that the way you say it? Flute player.
That's how I say it. A flautist, right?
Yes. He got to play and travel with Herbie Mann. And during that time, his recognition, if you will, became widely known. I would say in 1966, Roy Ayers started emerging with recognition around this place they call America and around the world. Again, he played with Herbie Mann. He also played with the great Herald Welton, the big band artist. There was this album that came out in 1966, and it was called The Golden Sword. And I think that's where Roy Ayers started getting that large recognition. The first time I saw Roy Ayers was at, ironically, a park in so-called South Central called South Park. South
Right.
Park had a lot, huh? Yeah.
That's what I remember,
South
right.
Park had a lot, huh?
No, I said, I was basically just saying amen, right on.
Right on. And, yeah, I saw him with Gerald Wilson's big band at South Park, the park. South is still there, by the way. South Park had a large stage in the park, and that's the first time I saw Roy Ayers. I think it was in the late '60s, maybe early, I would say 1970 or 1969. Hard driving, post bop, hard musician. He could play, you know. Footnote: that particular park was a center of a lot of events. I remember hearing Al Prentice Bunchy Carter at a Panther rally to free Huey Newton speak there in 1968 or 69. Roy Ayers, his ability to, as he started becoming more in what people call fusion jazz, people like Miles Davis, Herbie Hancock, started playing or producing music called fusion, or in Roy Ayers' case, they started calling it neo soul. A lot of musicians and singers in the, I would say, the early 80s, 90s, started singing in that spirit. Neo soul is another way of saying mixing soul with R&B. In 1973, there was a black exploitation movie that came out where Roy Ayers did the soundtrack. It was called Coffee. And people, again, started recognizing Roy Ayers and his ability to merge that neo soul with those eras. Again, Roy Ayers, in the tradition of George Benson, and even musicians like Miles Davis, they had that ability to write with that neo soul background, and the fact that they were schooled composers. They weren't computers; they were schooled composers. they had the ability to attract large audiences because they had that background. In terms of Roy Ayers, again, I wish I could have been born in that era, but he had that Sam Brown spirit in him. Sam Brown, again, was a great instructor, musical instructor. We move into like the mid to late 70s, and neo soul again started emerging more and more. Roy Ayers, in 1977, he did a tune called "Don't Stop the Music," and though I'm a part of the hard bop era, bop, well, all the way back to Louis Armstrong, I like the tune, right? I like the album, and in his ability to work that music, he still brought a lot of the jazz tradition with him. In "Don't Stop the Music," you can hear Roy Ayers playing the vibes, right? doing part of the song. And Roy Ayers, even though it was fusion or neo soul, Roy Ayers took a solo, but it was in the bebop tradition in terms of the way he played. Now, one of his biggest hits was, if not the biggest hit, was Running Away. Running Away, again, you hear Roy Ayers playing and soloing, and it's not I would say a funk type fusion solo. It's a bebop solo. So his ability to merge the traditional straight ahead music in fusion and neo soul he was a great writer, great composer, a great entertainer, and he was a personality. We move into the 80s and 90s. He worked with Rick James, artists like Rick James. There's a album called Stolen Moments, Red Hot Cool. And as the hip hop era in the 90s, Roy Ayers was working with a lot of those artists. I look at that like Tupac's Dear Mama. Joe Sample, a pianist who played with the Jazz Crusaders, Dear Mama by Tupac, the sample was All My Wildest Dreams, which was written by Joe Sample. And again, Joe Sample came from the straight ahead, hard driving group, the Jazz Crusaders. In the 2000s, you got artists like Jill Scott. Jill Scott sampled a hit with Roy Ayers, the great Roy Ayers. He sampled a hit. A lot, as well as a lot of other. That's the only way I can explain it. I hate to keep saying neo soul, but yeah, she was from that era.
Harold, let me cut you. Could I cut you?
Okay,
I want to say that. No, the hip hop group out of New York, Sonny Carson's Sons. Remember they did Red, Black, and Green. They did the
right.
thing. Well, I forgot what's the name of that group. Haven't seen your moment. That's not good. A great group out X Clan. Yeah, pardon me. That's all I want to say.
X Clan. That's right. Yeah.
Yes, right.
Don't worry about having a senior moment with these phones and technology. I see not a lot. I see some young people with senior moments in the 20s. But you mentioned the Nigerian artist Fela Kuti. Yeah, Roy Ayers. He went to the motherland and he met him, and they did a tune, and it's called in 2000 Black Got to Be Free. I love that song. It's straight ahead, but it's also, conscious raising music. Roy Ayers never forgot his roots of where he came from and what his parents as well as his family experienced in the so-called South of this country, and then when they migrated to L.A., so-called South Central L.A. Sorry about the so-called.
I don't want to cut you, but he also did Africa, Center of the World. That was the biggest thing.
Yes.
Fela Kuti, right?
That's right. Yeah. Fela Kuti, by the way, was a keyboard player, trumpet player, and he played saxophone, tenor saxophone. And like you said, he introduced to the world, at least, the Afro beats. And, Running Away, again, the tune that Roy Ayers wrote. Love that song. Where you hear that Afro beats in the song, you know, especially with the drummer and the interplay with the bass player, right? You hear those Afro beats. And of course, again, you hear Roy Ayers. When Roy Ayers, if we listen to him and many of his tunes of the 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, you hear him solo on the vibraphone, but it's like, again, a bebop type solo. I mean, he doesn't compromise the solo. If you were to take that solo and put a 4/4 beat, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you would say, "Oh, okay, I see where you're going with it." Soul R&B is like the emphasis is on the second beat, right? 1, 2, 1, 2. Whereas for the most part, jazz, the emphasis is on the second and fourth beat. And especially as, and I'm not saying that in a bad way, especially as music evolved and our music, people found it difficult to dance off of straight ahead 4/4, right? But when musicians started implementing the 2/4, Herbie Hancock being one, and Roy Ayers being another, then people found themselves being able to dance off the music, running away again. You can dance off of that, you know. Not that I'm knocking straight ahead, but I heard Lee Morgan talk about this, the great Lee Morgan, trumpet player. He talked about the fact that you got to be brave to play and be a jazz musician because you're not going to be a millionaire. So, yeah.
He's not going to be a millionaire, yeah. Although he, I wouldn't say that Sidewinder really put him on the map in terms of the money situation, wouldn't you say?
Yes, sir. Sidewinder, I think it was 1964, became a car commercial, right? Well, naturally, Lee Morgan wasn't getting any profits from that, and Lee Morgan's lawyers looked into that, and instead of paying Lee Morgan, I think it was Ford just stopped using the tune. Yeah, so that 1964 World Series is where the Sidewinder got a lot of exposure. And again, they said, well, no, we're not going to pay you anything. We're just going to stop playing the music in our commercials, etc. Yeah. The thing that I would like to see one day is music when it's taught to Africans, new Africans, and Africans here and Canada. Not just 2025, but the roots, like Roy Ayers understood the roots of this music, the beginnings of this music, the influence of the church, gospel, the blues. I always say jazz came from Africa, which it did, and freedom rhythm, and new Africans coming here, being exposed to instruments, came up. Of course, African slaves didn't read music, right? But after the so-called Civil War, Africans were picking up instruments that the Union Army threw away. And they didn't read music, so they started improvising. And then this music they call jazz met this music called gospel, and then the music called blues. And they got together and said, okay, we're going to make this music happen. We're going to be free with it. We're going to solo over this music. We're going to be speaking over this music like Roy Ayers did in his lifetime. We're not going to call it, this is me talking, we're not going to call it improvisation. We're going to just be free with the music. It's not going to be haphazard and just playing any old thing. Jazz has a sense of where you are at a given time. Jazz says, if you're thinking about something and you're soloing, you play it musically in your solo. Lee Morgan said, this is the music of a split second thought. It's like, it's not haphazard. Yeah, the music is based on what are called chord changes and structure, but after the musicians get past the melody, which is based on structure, and they're improvising, they are improvising what they hear in their minds a split second. My music teacher told me this one time. A split second before you play a note is the way you should think when you're soloing.
But unfortunately, Harold, we only have about 3 minutes left. Is there anything else you would like to add? I guess we would, fellow people that were asked to leave Fremont, what did you learn? In how influential? I mean, when did you get interested in the music that they call jazz?
I would say when I was about 5 years old, my mother and father used to play the music. And I remember they would buy albums. Like I remember Cannonball Adderley, the album cover to Cannonball Live at the Lighthouse. I remember my mother and father playing Donna Washington, Nancy Wilson, Vi Red, or Duke Ellington, right? And that stayed with me. Real quick, when we would go to the movies with our parents, I didn't know nothing about the movie, but I would listen to the music. Real quick, there's a movie called The Man with the Golden Arm. It was about musician. Right. Yeah, he had issues with self-medication of heroin, right? And the music, man, I think I was 6. The music just got me. I didn't know anything about the music and the movie until I got older. I just love music, man. Yeah. Yeah. So, long live the great Roy Ayers. May he rest in sound and peace and power. Great musician.
All right. Thank you very much. And we will definitely be talking to you in the future. And we will see you in the whirlwind, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you, everyone. And let's look into Jamil Alameen, H. Rap Brown, is suffering from stage 4 cancer.
Thank you, Harold, for coming on the show.
Thank you. Okay. All right. Take care.